Now let's go to a story that has garnered lots of attention out of Houston, and that is the case of Jazmine Barnes, 7 years old, shot and killed outside of a Walmart. Now, initially, it appears to be a racially motivated shooting when one or more of the eyewitnesses, including Jazmine's teenage sister, described a white man in a red pickup truck firing the shots. Now, the pictures, the man in the police sketch and his red pickup were widely circulated, but over the weekend, a couple of people were arrested, and it turns out the shooting may very well have been a case of mistaken identity. That is, the shooters were not targeting Jazmine and her family, but someone else. On Sunday, an African-American man in custody admitted to being involved in the shooting. Harris County Sheriff Lee Gonzalez said the red pickup truck had indeed come to a stop at a traffic signal near the car with Jazmine, her mother, and 3 other sisters inside. But he now believes the man in the red pickup was a bystander and not involved. Now, the shooting raised the very plausible possibility that it was racially motivated. The arrest of the suspect for capital murder raises the very important question of the value of relying on eyewitness testimony. Joining us right now is the attorney for the family of Jazmine Barnes, Lee Merritt. Now, Lee, you were very much involved in this in terms of setting this reward up along with activist Sean King. And it was a tip that came in to Sean King that was given to the Harris County Sheriff's Department that led to the arrest of these 2 gentlemen, correct?
That's correct.
And so, speak to this issue that people are raising that, oh my goodness, how did this come to be that this sketch was that of a white man, then all of a sudden you have 2 black men who are arrested?
It's difficult to see how we went from the sketch of the white male to 2 black suspects being arrested. But what the way it happened was, as you described earlier, the red truck pulled up next to the car that Jazmine was riding in at an intersection. And just before the shooting happened, that red truck actually did something peculiar. It decided at the last moment that it wanted to get on the expressway. So as Jazmine's car pulled off, it went right behind it and pulled to the left of it, over to the driver's side. At that exact moment, the shooters began shooting into Jazmine's car, which they believed was associated with people that they were after. And so my client noticed, Jazmine's sister, I should say, noticed that the car to her right was looking into them, looking to get over. She got a good look at them, and she used that what she saw in order to make that sketch that we all saw. Not only that, but once the shooting started out, pedestrians, one motorist who were behind him, he looked up and he saw that red car taking off, and he actually followed that car. That car later, the driver of that red truck eventually got out to look at his car to see if there had been any damage. And that motorist got a good look at him that he provided to us, and we eventually got it over to law enforcement. There was another tow truck driver who was on the side of the road just looking at this intersection where it happened. And he was looking down until he heard those gunshots and saw a red truck taking off. He saw a white suspect inside of it, and he reported that to us. We eventually got into law enforcement. So there were several witnesses who said, hey, there was a white guy in a red truck who committed the shooting, who immediately took off afterwards. And what they were actually referring to was a pedestrian who heard the gunshots himself and reacted to them.
You now have, of course, a lot of people out there with various comments that they're making. Some are saying that the only reason the media cared about this because it was potentially a white man killing a young black girl. And then now you have, of course, you have different folks who are white on social media who are saying, oh, now will any of you care because 2 black men committed or allegedly committed this act?
Well, the tragic thing is they're not completely wrong to say that the media tuned in because of the racial dynamics of the claim, because of the political nature of the claim. In my opinion, they're not entirely wrong about that. And that's the true tragedy. When you have activists stating that Black Lives Matter, one of the things that we're talking about is that when little innocent black girls die or disappear, media doesn't pay attention to them the way that they pay attention when white girls disappear. And so part of what Sean and other activists were doing and bringing media to this to attention in this matter was to say that this little girl's lives matter. It matters even still, although the evidence that was later revealed to us was that the shooters were black. It still matters. The other thing that we know, and that I believe that the black community in Houston and all over the country was most concerned about, was that if it is a white shooter, he will not be properly prosecuted in the system, because we live in a nation that is very, very good at prosecuting black men, and they don't show that same energy when prosecuting people of color. And so the people's lack, if disinterest, if that's at all occurring now, is because we know that the American judicial system will successfully prosecute these two black men. They will.
My panel got some questions for you, Lee, so I'm going to start first with Eugene, then I'm going to go down the line.
Hey, Lee, what's the best way we can help these families at this point? I know we're probably going to follow this all the way through the full justice process, but in the immediate, what can we do to help this family move, not move past this tragedy, but at least deal with the pain of it?
I really appreciate that question, because in the sensationalism of it all, we forget that this is an actual family. One thing that has not changed is that a 7-year-old girl was killed just last week on Sunday on the eve of New Year's Eve. And so that family is grieving. They're going to be grieving and mourning for a long time. Tomorrow they bury their daughter. I'll be headed back to Houston for the funeral.
And Lee, do you anticipate that now the news coverage will subside a little bit, because now it's just kind of black on black crime and people may not care as much about it because God forsaken, obviously it happens every day. But now, do you see now that the media attention will disappear a little bit?
I think the media attention will actually linger a bit. I think it will have the opposite effect in this case, because it turned out not to be a white person. And I think the media wants to converge on that and kick that over a little bit in order to begin to take some power away from the racial climate that we actually live in, to say, see, this is an example that most of the racial claims that our community complains about is in our own heads, and it has no grounding in reality. And so I think the media is actually going to kick that around for a little bit, so the story may linger a while.
Hi, I've been hearing that there might be some other people involved in this crime. Have they apprehended all of the suspects that they believe were involved with this murder?
Only one person has been charged, and that is Eric Black. There's another person named Larry Woodruff, who is being questioned, who is being held, but he has not been charged yet. I expect that he'll be charged in the coming days.
And Lee, does will the original white suspect, I don't even know if he was even considered a suspect, but will he have any kind of legal ramifications? Is he going to sue the city or sue anybody because of what happened to him and his family?
No, he was never actually identified. I know that there's some people circulating a picture of somebody who was already in custody and who had been arrested. Some individuals had found that online, and that was circulating. I don't think that he'll have a cause of action. The sketch doesn't identify anybody in particular, and so there's no defamation available for the fictional sketch. And so the actual person hasn't turned himself in, or hasn't manifested yet. The driver of the red truck, he's never come back to say, hey, I am the person who was fleeing the shooting. But if he had, he would think he would be coming after any damage could have been done to him.
All right, then. Lee Merritt, we also know, of course, the funeral for Jazmine Barnes is taking place tomorrow. And so we certainly extend our thoughts and prayers to her family.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right. Thanks a lot. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.